There is a certain fear that arises not from danger but from closeness. Most people believe they want intimacy, yet they tremble at the idea of being truly seen. To be seen is to be exposed, and to be exposed is to risk rejection. So without realizing it, you keep a quiet distance. You let people approach only to a point, and then you pull away. Not because you do not care, but because caring reveals the parts of yourself you are most afraid to show. Human beings carry hidden corners of the heart, old shame, old stories, old fears, private wounds. These are the things you would rather keep tucked away, because they make you feel fragile. And fragility seems dangerous in a world that rewards confidence and perfection. So whenever someone comes too close, a subtle tension forms within you. A voice whispers that they will not understand you, or that they will judge you, or that you will disappoint them. And without thinking, you create distance. Alan Watts often said that we play roles in life, masks that help us function but separate us from one another. You present a version of yourself that feels safe, controlled, and acceptable, but that version is not the whole of you. It is only a surface. True connection requires allowing someone to see beneath that surface, and this is where fear appears. Because beneath the role, beneath the personality, there is a tender human being who longs for love, yet fears it at the same time. When someone looks at you with genuine attention, it feels unsettling. Their gaze touches parts of you that you usually hide. You may smile, you may nod, you may keep the conversation light, but inside you feel a small panic. What if they notice your insecurities? What if they see the places where you feel incomplete? What if they discover that you are not as strong as you pretend to be? The mind begins to pull away long before the body does. This is why you push people away. Not because you want to be alone, but because closeness activates your deepest vulnerabilities. You retreat not out of disinterest, but out of self-protection. You create emotional distance because you believe that distance will save you from pain. Yet in trying to protect yourself, you create the very loneliness you fear. But here is the quiet truth. Being seen is not dangerous. It is liberating. People do not connect through perfection. They connect through honesty. When you allow someone to see your fears, your softness, your uncertainties, you create space for real intimacy. And in that intimacy, you discover that you are not as fragile as you thought. You discover that others carry the same fears. You discover that love becomes possible only when you stop hiding from it. You push people away because you fear being seen. And the cure is not to force closeness, but to soften the grip of fear, to let yourself breathe, to allow yourself to be human. And slowly, you learn that being seen is not the source of pain, it is the beginning of connection. Many people push others away, not because they dislike closeness, but because at some point in their lives, closeness became painful. The past leaves impressions on the heart, subtle and powerful, shaping the way you respond to love without you even realizing it. Somewhere along the line, you learned that affection is unpredictable, that trust can be broken without warning, and that the people you depend on can be the same people who cause you the deepest wounds. The mind carries these memories quietly. You may believe you have moved on, that the past is behind you, that you have grown stronger, but the body remembers, the heart remembers, and whenever a new person approaches, these old memories rise like shadows, whispering that love is dangerous, that attachment leads to suffering, that letting someone close is an invitation for pain. Alan Watts often spoke about how human beings create patterns of protection. A child who reaches for love and is hurt learns to pull their hand away. An adult who seeks connection and is betrayed learns to guard their emotions. These patterns become automatic. When someone shows interest, you feel a sudden tension. When someone expresses care, you feel your chest tighten. When someone tries to love you, you retreat before they get the chance. The past teaches you lessons, but not all lessons are true. You may have learned that vulnerability leads to harm, so you avoid it. You may have learned that emotional openness makes you weak, so you hide it. You may have learned that people you trust can vanish or change or disappoint you, so you refuse to trust at all. These beliefs are not choices. They are survival strategies formed when you were too young or too overwhelmed to understand anything else. As a result, you push people away before they can hurt you. You create distance before intimacy forms. You end relationships before they deepen. You shut down feelings that begin to grow. This gives you the illusion of control. If you end things first, you cannot be abandoned. If you close your heart early, you cannot be betrayed. If you never let anyone truly in, you cannot be truly wounded. But here is the tragedy. In protecting yourself from the possibility of pain, you also block the possibility of love. You carry the weight of your past into every new encounter, expecting the same story to repeat. The fear becomes so familiar that you do not even question it. You believe it is simply part of who you are. But it is not you. It is your history speaking through you. The truth is that love is not inherently unsafe. What hurt you was not love itself, but the absence of love in the moments when you needed it. Healing begins when you recognize this difference, when you understand that love did not betray you. People did, and people, unlike love, can change. To stop pushing others away, you must first acknowledge the wounds that taught you to fear connection, not to relive them, but to understand them. To see that the walls you built were necessary once, but not forever. When you begin to loosen these walls, even slightly, something shifts. You discover that not everyone is here to hurt you. You discover that your heart is capable of opening again. And you discover that the safety you once searched for outside can begin to grow within you. Modern culture celebrates independence almost as a religion. You are told that strength means standing alone, relying on no one, needing nothing from anyone. The self-made person, the lone wolf, the individual who asks for no help and shows no weakness, is held up as an ideal. And without even noticing, you begin to shape yourself into this ideal. You learn to carry everything on your own shoulders. You learn to quiet your emotions. You learn to handle your struggles in silence. Eventually, you begin to mistake isolation for strength. But independence and isolation are not the same. One is the freedom to choose your path. The other is the fear of letting anyone walk beside you. Yet many people confuse the two. They withdraw from others, believing they are simply strong. They refuse help, believing they are self-reliant. They keep their distance, believing they are simply protecting their peace. But beneath this illusion of independence lies a deep, unspoken truth. You are not avoiding people because you do not need them. You are avoiding them because you fear becoming vulnerable in their presence. Alan Watts often said that separation is a trick of the mind. No person exists in isolation. Just as a wave cannot exist without the ocean, a human being cannot exist without connection. Even the most solitary person depends on countless others in ways they never acknowledge. Yet emotionally, many people build an inner fortress and call it freedom. They convince themselves that needing no one is the safest way to live. And slowly, they begin to push people away without ever admitting it. This false independence becomes a shield. If you tell yourself you need no one, then no one can disappoint you. If you rely only on yourself, no one can betray your trust. If you close your heart, no one can break it. But this logic is built on fear, not wisdom. It turns life into a cautious performance rather than a living experience. You begin to reject love before it reaches you. You withhold affection even when you want to express it. You keep quiet even when your heart wants to speak. And you call this maturity. Yet the cost of this shield is heavy. Isolation slowly drains the spirit. It numbs your emotions. It makes joy rare and sorrow heavier. You begin to long for connection while being terrified of it at the same time. You want someone to understand you, yet you refuse to let anyone close enough to try. This inner contradiction is exhausting. It is the quiet reason why you push people away. Not because you prefer solitude, but because you fear what closeness might reveal. True independence is not the absence of connection. It is the ability to connect without losing yourself. It is the freedom to open your heart without collapsing into dependency. It is the courage to let others in while remaining grounded in who you are. When you learn this balance, connection becomes nourishing rather than threatening. You discover that sharing your burdens does not make you weak. It makes you human, and allowing others to share their hearts with you does not trap you. It deepens life. You push people away because you have been taught that isolation is strength. But real strength is the ability to stand alone when needed and to stand with others when life invites connection. It is the ability to open yourself without fear. And when you learn this balance, you will see that independence was never the issue. The issue was the belief that you had to choose between strength and closeness, when in truth the deepest strength comes from embracing both. There is a strange and painful pattern that many people live with, often without ever recognizing it. You reject others before they have the chance to reject you. You leave first. You pull away first. You shut down feelings at the very moment they begin to grow. And to the outside world it may seem cold or distant, but inside you it is an act of quiet self-protection. You are not pushing people away because you do not care. You're pushing them away because you care too much and fear the moment when they might turn and leave. This expectation of rejection is not born from logic. It comes from experience. Somewhere in your past, someone important walked away, changed suddenly, or made you feel like your presence was conditional. Someone taught you, whether intentionally or not, that love can disappear without warning. And the mind learned a harsh lesson. Do not trust the good moments. Do not trust affection. Do not trust closeness. Something will go wrong eventually, so you must leave before it does. Alan Watts often spoke about the illusions created by fear. Fear paints pictures that feel more real than reality. It whispers that every new person will hurt you the way someone once did. It convinces you that rejection is inevitable, no matter how kind or genuine the person in front of you may be. So you prepare yourself. You detach emotionally. You hold back your true feelings. You create distance long before the other person has done anything wrong. This habit becomes automatic. Someone shows you affection and you question their motives. Someone gets close and you grow uneasy. Someone says something kind and you search for hidden meaning. The mind becomes hypervigilant, scanning every detail for signs that the connection is temporary. And when you cannot find evidence, fear invents it. You interpret silence as disinterest. You interpret hesitation as rejection. You interpret normal human imperfection as a threat. In this way, fear becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You expect rejection, so you behave as if it has already happened. You withdraw, act cold, or create emotional walls. The other person senses the distance and becomes confused or hurt. And eventually, the connection fades, not because they rejected you, but because you unknowingly pushed them away. And when it ends, you tell yourself you were right all along. See, I knew it would happen, but the truth is painful and simple. You were not right. You were repeating a pattern that was never given the chance to be proven wrong. Expecting rejection is a way of trying to control the uncontrollable. If you leave first, you cannot be abandoned. If you numb yourself, you cannot feel hurt. If you assume the worst, you cannot be surprised by it. Yet all you truly accomplish is depriving yourself of the intimacy you desire most. Healing begins when you challenge the expectation itself, when you allow the possibility that not everyone will repeat the past, when you let someone stay long enough to show you who they really are, when you stop treating love like a threat and start seeing it as a risk worth taking. You will still feel fear, that is natural. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to stay open despite it. And when you do, you will discover something profound. Rejection is not the inevitable end of connection. Sometimes the people in your life are not waiting to leave. Sometimes they are waiting for you to finally let them in. There is a quiet truth that many people never see in themselves. You may know how to give love generously, sincerely, even beautifully. You may know how to support others, how to listen, how to care, how to offer comfort. Yet when love is directed toward you, something inside tightens. You grow uncomfortable. You doubt it. You push it away. Not because you do not want it, but because you have never learned how to receive it. Receiving love requires openness. It requires letting someone witness your softness, your needs, your longing for connection. And for many people, this feels too vulnerable. Somewhere in your past, you learned that needing love was unsafe. Maybe the people who were supposed to care for you were inconsistent or distant. Maybe affection was unpredictable or conditional. Maybe expressing your needs led to disappointment or shame. And slowly, without realizing it, you taught yourself a painful belief. It is safer to give love than to receive it. Alan Watts often explained that we are like closed hands, grasping tightly around our identities and fears. To receive anything, the hand must open, the heart must open. But for those who fear disappointment or rejection, opening feels dangerous. So when someone offers you love, your first instinct is to pull back. You question their intentions. You convince yourself they do not really mean it. You tell yourself you do not deserve it. You distract yourself. You close the door before the feeling can reach your heart. You may even feel guilty when someone cares about you. You may feel unworthy of affection. You may believe you are too complicated or too flawed or too damaged to be loved fully. And because of this belief, you deny yourself the very thing you crave. This is why compliments make you uncomfortable, why kindness feels suspicious, why intimacy feels overwhelming. You are not rejecting love. You are rejecting the fear that comes with receiving it. Over time, this creates a deep loneliness. You may be surrounded by people who care, yet feel disconnected from them. You may receive affection without feeling it. You may be in relationships that never reach emotional depth because you guard your heart even from those who love you. And you push people away not out of coldness, but out of an inability to open. The tragedy is that receiving love is a skill, not a gift. You were simply never taught how. You learn survival. You learn strength. You learn self-sufficiency. But you were never taught the one thing that makes connection meaningful: how to let someone give you what you freely give to others. Healing begins when you allow yourself to soften, when you notice the moment you pull away and choose, gently, not to. When you let someone's kindness land instead of deflecting it. When you allow affection to reach the parts of you that have been closed for too long. This is not weakness, it is courage. It is the courage to be seen, supported, and loved. And slowly something beautiful happens. You discover that receiving love does not make you dependent. It makes you whole. It does not make you weak. It makes you connected. It does not threaten your independence. It enriches your humanity. When you learn to receive love, you finally stop pushing away the very thing your soul has been longing for.